Today's assignment is going to be another review of just different things you've learned about Native Americans, but also a review of some of the different skills that you have learned for social studies so far this year. So as you can see, you're going to have this unit review sheet that you're going to click on, and then here's kind of instructions of telling you what all you will need to use. So you can see here the first part, you're going to be reading a passage and then answering questions about it. 8 and 9 will be more you just kind of thinking. There's not going to be a place to directly find the answer. I'll be thinking about what we've learned about so far about Native Americans. 11 and 14, you'll be able to use your notes that you've either taken on the computer or your paper packet. And then 15 and 16 will also be just kind of thinking about what you've learned so far and how that applies to the Native Americans. And then 17 through 20, there's a map there that you'll be using to answer the questions. So you're going to click on that link and it'll pull up the PowerPoint in here and click Edit Presentation, Edit in Browser. And if you ever want to, instead of filling it out online, if you want to print off the paper and write on it at home and then send that to me, that is perfectly fine. Or if you want to write your answers on another piece of paper, take a picture of it and send it to me, that is just fine as well. But if ever you are wanting to print this off, you can just click File, and then click Print, and then just set it up to whatever computer you have and print it off that way. So again, once you get here, I always click View. You may have like a little drop-down arrow that you need to click. But click View, click Zoom, and then 100%, and then that way we'll be able to read it. So we have the 2 pages here you're going to complete, and then I've got a 3rd page here for you to put your answers on. So you'll just click here in the text box and put your answers down there. So questions 1 through 4, you're going to read this passage here, this reading passage about the land and early people. And then you're going to answer these questions. It says, what does the word continent mean in the paragraph above? So you're going to go back to the reading and figure out what continent means in there. And then here, ask Canada, the United States, and Mexico are the 3 largest nations on this continent. What is this continent? So you have to tell me which letter is the continent that those 3 countries are on. How did life in the Americas begin to change about 5,000 years ago? So you'll go up to the reading, read where it talks about 5,000 years ago, how life began to change, and choose the correct answer. And then find the word civilization in the reading to tell what that word means. Then you'll go to the 2nd page. As you can see, I've crossed off 5, 7, and 10, so you will not need to answer those. But then number 6 asks, what region covers most of the central United States? So thinking about those regions that we talked about in the different parts of the United States, right in the middle of the United States was an area. Think about the different regions we talked about. We talked about eastern woodlands, the plains, the northwest, the southwest, the Arctic. Which region would be there? Which one would be right in the middle and covered a large area in the middle? Number 8, how did rivers affect human settlement? So think about rivers. Did people move by rivers? Did they not move by rivers? Like, how did rivers affect where people were settling down, where they were living? Number 9, how can different climate regions affect how people adapt to their environment? So I just want to know, like, what did people do to live in the different environments? Even here in North America, we have very cold, snowy places, very hot, dry places. We have flat plains, we have woodlands. So those different regions, how did people adapt to those environments? What did they do differently in each environment? Here is where you're going to use your notes. So in your notes, you're going to go back and find what 2 American civilizations were in Mexico. What 2 did we talk about that were in Mexico? Number 12 asks, which early American civilization built its homes in the area now called the Four Corners? So you're going to go back to your notes, find which group built their home in what we call the Four Corners. 13, which was one of the most important resources to the Plains people, was it buffalo, fish, grasses, or trees that the Plains people had as their most important resource? And then what did Native Americans in the Arctic, the Plains, and the Northwest coast all have in common? Did all of those people depend on farming? Did they all depend on whales and salmon? Think about Arctic plains northwest. Did they all depend on hunting and fishing? Or did they all depend on ice to build shelters? So you'll select your correct answer, put it on the third page. Then you'll come up here to 15 and 16. And again, this is the kind of the critical thinking about what you've learned. So how do different landform regions affect how people modify the land? So thinking about, mountains, deserts, oceans, rivers, how do those different things affect what the people do to the land? How did Native American economies and resources differ from region to region? So if you remember, economy is how they use what they have, and then resources is what they have. So how did Native Americans use things differently from region to region? And then we have 17, 18, 19, 20. You're going to use this map here to complete that. Again, you're putting your answers down here, filling that out. If you have any questions, definitely send me a message here on Teams, send me a message on Remind, or send me an email.